in more recent years, it's one of the ways I've tried to assist researchers and groups trying to interact with non-human intelligences by being able to expand my consciousness to pick them up and to strike up a telepathic connection, or at least a clairvoyant one. And also to try to encourage people to lose their fear. And I've gone out with groups and individuals and noticed, like with myself in my teens, that if there was fear there, unresolved, the objects and the intelligences operating them would take up a respectful distance. Now, if you went out without fear, and I've had this happen, I've gone out with groups where someone in the group was fearful and the object wouldn't come any closer than half a mile. And this happened in '92 in Wiltshire, where I live. The next night I went out with someone else without fear, and the object came within 100 feet. And it really showed how our own emotions play a vital role in interaction. And I do actually see our own fear as a major, major stumbling block that needs to be overcome in having close interaction with ETs. Now, I experienced once learning about fear that once overcoming it, my whole experience changed. I found that I was able to be, instead of a passive recipient of an experience which the ETs initiated, I became able to initiate something. And this is what myself and other people have called a close encounter of the fifth kind, where you actually go out and initiate the interaction process. Now, I've learned over the years, through my own personal experience and by looking at what's happening worldwide, there are like 3 stages to interaction with ETs. The first stage is they simply initiate you to their reality. That is the only purpose and function of the initial contact. And it could be a close encounter of the first kind all the way up to the third kind. You could be alone or you could be with a group. But that is the simple function of it. After that, the second stage is, it depends very much on how you respond. If you respond with fear, then you inhibit the contact experience. If you learn to overcome that, then it can move more closer. If you show interest, if you join groups or come to things like this, you are expressing a desire to know more, and that is noted. And I know from my own experience that they are aware of this. And also, with a difference from the fifth kind experience from many other, is that you become active rather than passive. Now, I went through a period in my teens where, between sightings, I went out to different parts of the landscape and hoped and waited for them to turn up, and they never would. And I went through the disappointment, as many people I know have been through doing the same. And eventually, between the age of 16 and 19, where I went through 3 years of nothing, no contact, no sightings, no experience with a being, that they don't like to be on the other end of our expectations. They kind of accept it for a time because it's part of the problem within our society, and it's part of, if they're going to initiate us their reality, then they have to accept that when they appear, they're probably going to have in front of them spectators observing a spectacle. But after a few of these, it becomes, you feel the need for something more, and you start asking questions like, well, where do we go from here? And how can we move closer? And how can I know that they are benevolent towards yourself and us in general? So you need to develop at that point attitudes where you stop treating it as a spectacle. You stop making it your focus, but you integrate what has happened into your life, and you start trying to look at it as, the way that I've learned is that I've encountered a being on 4 different occasions. It's been the same being each time. And I know that there are more than one of this group, but it's always the same one. And this occurred at 9, 14, 15, and 27. And I intuitively know that there are many more out there coming here, and that have been here for a long time. And I also know that the majority of them coming here have very benevolent feelings towards us. There is a minority group that we tend to hear so much about, which I think is in a way stealing the show, because of the fear that they engender in the people that encounter them, and the trauma, i.e. the greys. But I very much sense that they are a minority group. And I had 2 encounters with greys, and both of them were not pleasant. They were very different from the other being that I experienced. And what I sensed, what I experienced in that encounter was their wanting to control. They're feeling this need to control. And I've always felt that whenever anyone has those desires, whether it's a human being or not, it's because of fear. And these days, I'm prepared to interact with any being, whether they are greys or not greys, provided they come with love, or provided they are willing to enter into an interaction relationship with love. And I kind of laugh really when I see these little furry grey creatures that are being sold at the front, because in a way it's, on the one hand, it's kind of helping to acclimatise people to their reality, and to not just see them in a threatening way, because that's what fear does. It paints the worst scenario, i.e. a threat to yourself, a threat to your survival, and it very much weakens you. When you can learn not to project, and you start a relationship, or what I found was that after a few sightings, I realised that I was actually entering into a form of relationship, an ongoing one, that I could end at any time. I could choose to end it, but I didn't want to.